Magic the Gathering is changing forever, or at least Standard is. Announced this weekend at MagicCon Minneapolis, Wizards of the Coast announced that the way in which Standard rotates was changing, and this was to revitalize the format. Let's break it all down. Currently, every fall Standard set, such as Dominaria United last year or Wilds of Eldraine this year, would see the 4 oldest sets in Standard leave the format to create a fun and dynamically changing meta that had a massive shakeup every fall. In that system, Standard bounced between 4 and 8 sets legal at any given time. The major change that they announced this weekend was that they would be skipping rotation in 2023 and resuming it in 2024, meaning that cards from sets like Midnight Hunt, Crimson Vow, Neon Dynasty, and New Capenna would be legal for a whole extra year, moving the number of legal sets to between 8 and 12. This leads to a Standard that at any given time is about 1,000 cards fuller, and that will see less drastic changes as new sets are released. Their stated reason is to revitalize Standard, and they believe that giving Standard cards a longer shelf life will bring more players back to the rotating format. I personally think this will be an interesting change, and we really won't get to see the whole impact of this until this time next year, but it does mean format staples like Fable of the Mirrorbreaker will continue to reign dominant in the format unless they get banned because of being boring or too overpowered or something along those lines. Personally, I love formats where niche strategies can be played, and I feel that more cards can help with that, as there are just more strategies that can be played. However, on the flip side of that, it does mean that the power level of Standard will increase, as you get to play the best ramp, removal, and creatures of the past 3 years rather than the last 2, which I do think pushes less powerful, more fun strategies away, making it a little bit more competitive. In addition, while we won't get a massive shakeup this year, next year we will still get our annual Standard shakeup when about 33% of the format rotates, meaning people will still have to rebuild decks and may leave the format because of it. A lot of people leave Standard at that rotation period. They just don't want to reinvest into a format that in another year they're going to have to rebuy into. Add on to that because there's such a small card pool, each new set normally drastically changes the meta. It's a very expensive hobby to get into, and it makes sense that Wizards of the Coast would want it to stay a popular format since it means that people have to keep up with the latest Standard releases. So while I do think this year it will reduce the number of people that quit Standard, I think that next year it's going to seem even more drastic as people are going to be used to their cards just staying in Standard. However, something else they announced that's really interesting is that Alchemy, the arena-only format, would stick with the 2-year rotation schedule, meaning that Midnight Hunt through New Capenna will still be rotating out this September. They claim it's because Alchemy is arena-only, and therefore people can play a lot of games quickly, meaning more common rotations and shakeups are good, as players will become bored of the meta since they can play, 50 to 100 games a day if they really wanted to. And that's the big takeaway for me. This is a good decision for paper, where you'll build a deck and you'll play a couple of games with it every week, and that's it. But for Arena, it'll lead to even more boring games with the same deck over and over and over and over again because of the nature of being able to play as many games as you want, whenever you want. I believe this is yet another push for people to move from Standard to Alchemy, which requires more constant deck changes and will further decline Standard's popularity on Arena, while probably boosting it slightly in paper. But is that a good thing? I'm not sure. I took a break from Crimson Vow to Dominaria United, and so I was excited for rotation to make Standard just sets that I had decent collections of on Arena. But I'm also happy that the paper cards I have from those sets will continue to see use. I think it's a really interesting dilemma. I think games on Arena are going to get a little bit more boring, but I think paper is going to be a little bit more healthy for it, and I think that's a good thing. Paper Magic is what makes Magic Magic. It is Magic the Gathering. And so I think that a healthy paper format is needed for digital play to even see play in the first place. I'm really torn, so I'm really curious to see what you guys think in the comments down below. I'll also be creating a YouTube community post if you want to share your opinions over there as well. But moving on, I feel that if they want to keep this change, they need to be a little bit bigger on bannings or be a lot more careful when printing staples. If a card from a set is an amazing removal spell, it will be the only removal spell, or at least one that you have to run for 3 years. That's a lot of time. That's enough time for someone to go from starting high school to just a year away from graduating. It's a massive amount of time, and it means that deck building will likely be more and more homogenous, as the best removal spells are the only ones that'll see play, and it means that when new sets come out, they have to be pretty powerful to actually have cards that shake up the meta. This isn't a change that we'll see the effects of until Wilds of Eldraine later this year, and we won't really see the full ramifications until the summer set of next year, but it really is interesting. I mean, this time next year, we are going to have 13 sets legal and standard, thanks to March of the Machine The Aftermath being a micro set that isn't included in those last 4 sets rotating out. On top of sets being bigger than they've ever been before, standard is going to be very powerful and very complicated. And I think as an enfranchised player, that is going to be a good thing. But for new players, it can be extra intimidating to have brand new cards that they have to learn, and they also have to go back 3 years of cards and learn all of those as well. This is the decision I'm torn on. I don't think it's necessarily all good or all bad, but I'm curious what you guys have to say and what you guys think in the comments down below. I will see you guys in the next one.